Ivan Katz here at Golf Breeze Disc Golf Park outside of Pensacola, Florida, and I'm going to play around and tell you what I throw and why I throw it, tell you how these golf discs work, and tell you a bit about the game of disc golf all at the same time. Let's get started. Okay, getting started here. Number one is par 3, 270 feet. And there's certainly some trees to get through and around, but let's see what we can do here. Now I've counted the number of discs I have with me, that way I'll know if I lose one, and I've also written my name and number on the back of the discs, and that way if I lose one, hopefully someone will get it back to me. Also I have a cloth with me, a towel, in case these discs get dirty or wet. Good tips to start out with. Here we go. Okay, the Crank SS here, thrown pretty low and in control, pretty flat as well. This right here, well, let me turn around. This would have been hyzer, and this is anhyzer, and you can control the way your disc flies a bit by the angle you release it at. This for me is a pretty stable disc, which means whatever angle I release it, it'll basically stay at that angle with a little fade at the end. So I threw it down the fairway there and stayed over to the left-hand side, to this side, and then curved back just a little bit and left me maybe 12-15 feet from the basket for a nice easy putt in for birdie. Okay, so there you go, the Crank SS, run pretty flat, and my putter here, which is a 86 Softy, pretty old, and probably not a great idea for me to putt with this. Even though it works for me, I do love the way it putts, and I use it all the time. However, if you're just starting out, maybe you go get something like an AVR. In fact, get like 5 AVRs. And go and putt with them and practice with them one after another. Get the same weight and the same type of disc and practice, practice, practice. And that is a really good way to learn putting. It's very repetitive, should be repetitive for you. Watch your favorite pro. Don't necessarily watch me, but I putt the way that works for me. Now, let me say a note about my technique. It might not be the best out there, but it works for me. I've been playing disc golf for decades, and it's pretty hard to teach an old dog new tricks. That's not to say I couldn't change some things and probably get more distance out of my throws and this and that. So watch whoever you admire and learn from them. Learn from your friends if you like the way they throw. However, if you don't and you disagree with the discs they use and the way they throw, well, do what works for you. And then this game will be a lot more fun for you, and you'll learn it and love it as well, and hopefully be very successful at it too. Number 2, a bit hidden here, and also with the water hazard, 165 feet, so lots of trees in the way and some water too. Okay, good result here with the Cobra, which is a mid-range understable disc. Really good one for this one, and a great all-around disc. More on this one in a second. But you can also putt with it. So, the Cobra, which is a understable mid-range. The numbers on this disc are 4, 5, -2, and 2. What does that mean? Well, the 4 is the speed of the disc. That is basically how hard you need to throw it to get the good result out of it. A low number like a 4 is a mid-range. Putters are usually like 2s maybe, and about 3, 4, 5, those are mid-ranges, and then on up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, those are control fairway drivers that are meant for you to control very well, and then on up to the distance drivers, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, there's some these days like the King. Very tough discs to throw if you're a beginner. If you're a beginner, stick to everything under, I would say probably 7, 8. Leopard is about as high as you want to go in terms of speed. So, understable. We'll get to that in a second. 4 is the first number of the speed, which I just told you about. The lower the number, the easier it should be to throw for beginners and intermediate players. The second number, 5, is the glide. That's how much it'll glide in the wind. So it's good to have a little bit of glide to get you some distance. The third number, -2, that is the turn of the disc. Also, the understability in the case of a negative number. If it's a positive number, 2, 3, it's overstable, and it'll tend to turn off for you. If you throw right hand backhand like this, an understable disc, if you throw it with some hyzer, will tend to turn up straight. And then in the case of the 2 fade at the end, it's going to fade back a little bit. That's what the 2 number is at the end, and that's the fade. So a stable disc should just stay flat when you throw it flat. An understable disc will have a tendency to be flippy or turn over. So that's what understable means. Understable is good for beginners who don't have a lot of power. You throw the disc, it'll still turn over and go right at your target. Therefore, the Cobra here is a very, very good all-around disc. I say to people that you can play the entire course with the Cobra. I have a whole video on the Cobra, check that out. And it's a really, really nice disc. Everyone should have a Cobra, I think. On to the next one. Number 3, 215 feet, and trees in the way. Do you go on this side, or do you go on that side? Well, it kind of depends on how you throw. Most people that throw right-hand backhand probably go around here. But because I'm a flicker, sidearm, I'm probably going to go this way and then fade back towards the basket. Hopefully. Okay, so the crank SS thrown around the trees to the left with a bit of hyzer to curve it around, get me around those trees, and a little bit of a rollout here. Not as close as I'd like to be, probably about 35, 38 feet maybe, and that's outside of what's called the circle. The circle is 10 meters. 33 feet. What does that mean? Well, if you're beyond 10 meters or 33 feet, that means you can jump putt. So you could technically go like this and jump forward. Not what I do, but a lot of people like to use the jump putt for more power, more distance, more accuracy. I'm just going to go ahead and putt it normally here. Not an easy putt, but hopefully I can make it. There you go. Now that one was a true birdie, first try. You're not going to do that every single time, trust me. I'm out here shooting multiple discs to show you different angles and different shots and different techniques to throw. So don't expect that you're going to come out here and birdie everything, even par everything. Don't expect you'll do it. It's a tough sport. There's trees in the way. We love it for a reason, because it's really, really hard. So don't think you're going to come out here and do very, very well. Some days you will, some days you won't. You'll get some aces. If you haven't had one yet, keep playing. You will eventually get one. Practice, practice, practice. Go out into a field and throw if you're having trouble. That's a great thing to do. Swap discs with friends out in the field. Throw all your discs. Figure out what you like. Try different weights of the disc. The lighter the disc, it might be easier for you to throw, more understable, which might help you turn the disc over if you're a beginner, or vice versa. Maybe you need a more stable, overstable disc. Go out in the field, throw some discs, throw some different weights, different types, different companies, and there you go. It's a great sport. You learn something every single time you play it. Okay, same disc, the Crank SS, and this time I threw it out this way with a bit of anhyzer so that it would go ahead and curve around left, and that's what it did. Curved around these trees and ended up, well, it hit this tree. Unfortunately, it would have been right at the basket, but it hit this tree and ended up right here. Still, not a super, super far putt, but certainly not easy either. Probably about a 25, 28-foot putt from here. Okay, wrapping up number 3. two different shots from my Crank SS. The first one went around to the left, and that's kind of the normal way that you would throw for a right-hand sidearm player. Some hyzer, just a hair bit of hyzer to let it just go ahead and get stable, get the distance, but curve around the objects in the middle, which in this case were these trees. I was able to curve around them. Unfortunately, I had some trouble with this tree and kind of bounced off the wrong way, but that was okay. Still had a shot for birdie, and that's what you want. You just want a shot to give you a chance to get a birdie. That's all you really need. And practice, practice, practice your putting, and you'll find that you can get more and more of those. Same disc, different flight pattern. This time I went around to the right, and to do that, I threw the same disc instead of flat or with a little bit of hyzer. I threw it with some anhyzer to get it to curve left around those trees, which it did, and again hit that tree. But again, in both cases I was able to get a birdie out of it on the first try this time. You're not going to make those putts every single time. I don't make those putts every time. There's days when I can't even hit a putt, and then there's days like today where I make my putts, and that's good. And usually there's no one around to see it, unfortunately, but at least I have a camera. Anyway, so there you have it. Use these discs in different ways and you'll get different results. I love this Crank SS. It's one of my favorite discs. It's probably a little bit too much disc for me, a little too fast, but I can get it to do what I want it to do, and I love it. On to the next one. Okay, number 4, 190 feet, and a little bit of a narrow approach here with these tight trees, so you got to think about that. Try to get it down to the basket for a nice easy putt in, hopefully. Okay, threw the beast here and got really lucky. It made it through that little gap in the trees there. If I saw somebody else do that, I'd call them the tree whisperer. So definitely lucky to get through there, but this beast is a nice disc that tends to turn over and S out a little bit. It's understable, and you can get some great distance with it because of that. I think a lot of beginners, probably everybody, should have a beast. It might be a little too much disc for you. It's a speed 10. But I would say, okay, all intermediate players should probably get a beast and try to get it to turn over. They throw it with right hand, backhand like this. And you want to get it to turn over and S out a bit. And if you can do that, then you're good for this disc. It's a slightly flippy disc. It has a turn of -2. So that's pretty good. And speed 10 disc. So intermediate players, all of you should have a beast. Great disc. Number 5 here, about 180, 190 feet it says, but there's a water hazard as you can see, and I don't know this course very well, but I do believe that the basket is right behind these trees right here, and there's also, you see the water curves around here, see? Well, there's some water just beyond the basket here, so if you fade off too much this way, well, you're also wet. So this one's difficult, and you can hit a tree the wrong way and send your disc into the water. So that being said, you have to be very careful. There are discs like the Wahoo that float. In this case, I'm just going to be hopefully very, very careful and prudent and very, very conservative with this shot so as not to lose a disc. Well, not an amazing result with the Viking, but I did make it across safely and pretty close to the basket too. I would say probably about 30 feet or so, but a tree in the way, certainly. Let's see what I can do. You see 6 back there? It's tricky. Look at this shot. So you got to go all the way through here and all these trees, starting from back there. So it's a dog leg right with a pretty tight fairway here. You can get by, I would say, through here, or really, if you're a tree whisperer, you can get through anyway. But in this case, I will offer this advice. Do not look at trees. Think about where the basket is, focus on that, and throw towards that, and then you will tend to not hit a tree. If you look at a tree, you'll hit a tree. Well, there you have it. Superb result with my R Pro Boss 13.5, -1 and 3. That means it's pretty stable, although it tends to be a bit understable for me, which means I can throw it with some hyzer and it kind of stays that way, turns a little bit. But I'm not a real powerful thrower. A lot of people can throw much farther than me. 280, 285 is really my max most of the time for a flat hole. So this one is really great for me. I just like to do dogleg rights with it, get it to fade off the natural way it will fade, which is a 3 fade. And in this case, it worked out great. Parked at the basket with an easy putting. Number 7, 185 feet and just a bit of a straight shot. Certainly some problems on the left and right, but a nice wide fairway for you. Nice easy shot with the Cobra here. It's certainly a little bit flippy for me, but it's not very broken in. This is a new Cobra, and as you hit trees, as they break in, as you throw it, it'll become more understable for you. So I want to break this one in a bit more, but still a good result here. Pretty straight shot, close enough for me to put it in with the Cobra. Great all around disc. Number 8, not easy because it's pretty far, 260 feet. And a lot of trouble there at the end, plus a tree in the middle, and trees on either side. Let's see what we can do. Not a bad result with the beast. Too bad these very thick bushes are here, but I can see the basket at least. Still, certainly not an easy putt. Okay, so there you go. A nice drive with the beast. 10, 5, -2, a great disc for an intermediate player at least because of the speed 10. Stay lower than that if you don't have the ability to throw these discs as far. If the discs are just curving off left for you, it's too much disc for you. Lower the first number. This one, however, for me, worked out very well. 10, 5, -2, that's the understability. That means it turns over for me. Doing a nice little S pattern. Would have really gotten me here if it wasn't for that terribly crowded area of bushes and trees in the center, but I was able to use this Vulcan. Now the Vulcan is a speed 13, 5 glide, -4, and a 2 fade. This is not a disc that if you surveyed 100 people, probably one of them, me, would throw this as a putter. But in this case, I was able to get it to curve right in and fade where I wanted it to make the nice birdie. Now, of course, you're not going to do that every time. It's not my first shot. Check these out. Anyway, there you have it. A couple more shots that I missed, and then my real shot was a nice little putt that landed just by the basket with my putter, so I made a par. But again, I want to show you that you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. Sometimes, in lots of my videos, you'll see me make some pretty amazing putts with a driver, and that's because I like the way, I don't have a lot of power with my right-hand backhand, so I'll throw them with a bit of anhyzer or maybe just more flat, but it'll curve off towards the basket, and that's what I like. If I'm over, say, 40, 50 feet, lots of times that's what I'll do, because I'm more comfortable with that shot with a fade left with a powerful driver, just because it works for me. Again, do what you do, don't listen to everybody else, and study the pros, study everybody else's form. Don't necessarily study my form, because again, I'm not the farthest thrower out here, but I make my knowledge of the discs and my technique work for me. On to the next one. Number 9 can be a tricky shot because of that water. You've got to throw it through these trees and then fade off to the right here, but you don't want to fade too far or you'll get wet. Okay, so the Sidewinder, 9, 5, -3, and 1. That's a very straight flying disc for me. Kind of an intermediate level disc with a speed of 9, a control fairway driver. And it's become one of my favorite discs. I really like what it does. Basically straight path, a nice controllable drive, straight with a little fade at the end. That disc can also turn over because of its -3rd number, but it's not very broken in. And I just love the way it flies, leaving me about 20 feet for the hopefully easy putt in for birdie. Number 10, 200 feet, hiding just behind that tree in the distance. Let's see how we can get there. The halo air gives me some nice fade back to the right, so I was able to push it out to the left in the safe area and let it curve back. Unfortunately a bit too far. I'm probably about 35 feet from the basket, so not an easy putt for birdie. Number 11, straight ahead and 195 feet with some problem trees on the approach. Nice shot with my Hex Rakuten, which has gotten a little flippy, which means it does turn over, give me a nice S pattern, which it was doing there, and then it hit the tree and bounced the wrong way. It would have been, I think, a little closer, but I can't complain with this, about 15 feet away from the basket. Number 12, par 3, 245 feet. A lot of problem trees on the way, but hopefully we'll be able to get through cleanly. Good result here with my crank SS. I was able to throw it with maybe just a hair bit of hyzer. Flew straight, far to the left of the problem trees for me, and then faded back to the right. I love my crank SS. I have a whole video on it elsewhere on YouTube. Check that out. But it must be about 33, 35 feet from the basket. Number 13, 205 feet, and hiding behind a very interesting and difficult clump of trees. The Viking here, a very versatile disc. You can use it to really curve any way. It does exactly what you tell it to do. Throw it flat, it goes straight. Throw it with some hyzer, you can get it to curve, dogleg right. Anhyzer, dogleg left for me. Now again, these are reversed if you're throwing right hand, backhand. Anhyzer, dogleg right, hyzer, dogleg left for a right hand, backhand throw. But anyway, with my flick, as I described it there. But check out my video on the Viking. It's a great all-around disc. That video is elsewhere on YouTube. It left me about 25 feet from the basket for the birdie putt. Number 14 here appears to be kind of difficult to throw if people are playing volleyball there. But fortunately no one is. It looks to me to be about 200 feet or so, I guess. Number 14, as I said, I love my Sidewinder here. Hit the basket, almost an ace, but settle for the easy birdie. Number 15 here, pretty much straight ahead, but lots of problem trees along the way, 260 feet. Okay, so the Sidewinder worked perfectly for me here, and also on the hole before where I hit the basket, but it doesn't mean it's a great disc for you. Try out different discs, see what works for you. Try out different weights, see what works for you. It's very windy where you play, you probably want a heavier disc, but if you're a little older, you might want a little lighter disc to help you throw a little farther and turn the disc over a little easier. About an 18-foot putt for birdie. Number 16 here, 270 feet, and a lot of trees there close to the basket and on the way too. Tough. Okay, really nice result here with my Halo Air. Got air bubbles in it, makes it fly a little farther. Great disc, similar to a Blizzard Champion plastic, but this one, Latitude 64, Halo Air. Love it. Parked me for this very easy birdie. Number 17, 210 feet. Certainly not easy because of all those trees clumped together. Let's see what we can do. Once again, a beautiful result with the Sidewinder, giving me about a 12-foot putt for birdie. Number 18, short shot, 175 feet, but very tricky because of all those trees. Let's see what we can do. Okay, there you go. Short little flick shot, anhyzer with the Crank SS. Love that disc. It got me around to the left, dog leg left, around the trees. I didn't throw it hard enough. Too short, and ended up short about 35 feet away. But I love the Crank SS. Very versatile, as you've seen, and check out my whole video on the Crank SS. And there you have it, the short baskets at Golf Breeze Disc Golf Park just outside of Pensacola. And I hope you've enjoyed this disc golf round. Check out all of my other disc golf videos, my Drivin Ivan car reviews. Just Google your favorite car and Drivin Ivan, D-R-I-V-I-N apostrophe space I-V-A-N. You can see my car reviews of both new and old cars as well. Check out my music videos, my literal video for Chris Isaac's Wicked Game, and also my documentaries. Thanks for watching, and of course follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Ivan Katz.